Good morning and welcome to the Capitalgang. I am Oscar Semoyamsoke. A little bit late, as one listener always points out, on some introductions, but here we are in the studio, Uganda at 63. I have guests in the studio, Mr. Honorable Emmanuel Lumala Dombo. You don't need to say anything for now. He's very busy with Star Cafe materials. So at some point he will get out of that and have a response. Joseph Otieno is in the studio. You're most welcome to the Capitalgang, Joseph Otieno.
Thank you very much for having me on this day, and thank you very much for having me over this week. Yes. I can see Emmanuel, he's seated opposite me. He was very hesitant sitting on the NRA corner because he knows that we delivered this country 63 years ago and they've broken it in the last 40.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. The young professor is in the studio, Dr. Yusuf Serunkuma. You're most welcome to the Capitalgang as well.
Thank you so much, Oscar, for having me, and good morning, listeners.
Yes. I know where Abdu is because we've been traveling on the same route and there are some trucks broken down. So I know that he's in the car and on the way. You know, I was away, Joseph, in South Africa last week and reading about UPC things. I don't know, my impression is still that even though you're the most optimistic person I know of, my impression is that you are kind of cooked. I'll invite Jimmy Akena here and put it to him as well that UPC is kind of cooked, and it might be the fault of you, the leaders of UPC. And you brought that to yourself by mentioning UPC at 63 years.
No, there's no way in which you cannot mention UPC at independence. And one of the biggest challenges, good enough we've got an academic flanking us here, is that the young people of this country have been given a substantially raw deal on the contextual history of our country. Many people continue to play politics with it. Yesterday, I was blessed to be part of the 30 years commemoration of the NRA Constitution at Sheraton with the South African judge, plus many other eminent persons, including Professor Sempebwe. But as you engage and you see young people predominantly, and it was a fantastic event organized by Center for Constitutional Governance, it is extraordinary how young people do not know our merely contemporary history. It's extraordinary how young people are so dissembled because of the history of hate and history of fear that no wonder the constitutional process that led to our independence and the constitutional establishment that independence granted us and the constitutional foundation that were rooted that ensured that Abdul Katuntu, I and Emmanuel Dombo could share a region and thrive, what was broken. Now, the South African judge who was there, amazingly committed, Justice Kregler, I could see him with his wife, and then I remember the struggles of the apartheid, and I remember some of the words that he was trying to talk about. No, UPC's problem was earlier ideological. Our sad pain was that we dared to be the spokesperson for the anti-apartheid movement, and we paid with Idi Amin. Our sad commitment to protect this country against imperialist exploitation and the sad extension of our hands in Congo to support the Lumumbist forces. So Idi Amin, that broke us. UPC too, we had the likes of Tiny Rollins who wanted to bribe us to take away our resources. Milton Obote threatened to arrest him, and he went on to begin supporting the likes of the Museveni's, hence where we are today. So UPC is a victim, but a victim whose own commitment was to protect for the Republic of Uganda and preserve for the youth of this country. So we are no victim. But in any case, of course, individuals are. At the moment you refer to my brother Jimmy, somehow, I don't know where he lost track and all of a sudden forgot about the Constitution of Uganda People's Congress and the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, which has its own challenges. It's merely that, just respecting the constitutional provision of a political organization. And then...
he calls you the media giant. That says Jim Ochieno does not have a constituency, he's just a media giant.
His father would feel very sad in heaven, and I've been warning people that anybody who calls me anyhow should know that Obote might cast them from heaven. My media roles in the last 35 years, nobody, in fact, by then nobody, Emmanuel, in this country, can I boast, matches my media experience, both local and global. So that should be a resource, and one of the reasons why I'm always very pleased when you invite me is to share with yourselves. Whenever I meet young people, is to share with themselves. I actually have a CV for young Ugandan this morning, whose job it is for me to mentor and guide going forward. So it's something to be celebrated. My media role helped return many things that we had lost under NRA, and Jimmy knows it. So, so making it petty is neither here nor there.
Honorable Abdu Katuntu is in the studio. Most welcome to Gang. I did mention that I know where I left you.
Yes,
and I know who did not follow my advice.
I did not. No, there's another aspect which Google could not detect.
Yeah.
The other person who was going above the bridge, and you know what happened. So we lost around 25 minutes.
Yes, it's been a bit of a struggle, but here you are. Most welcome. And welcome back. Welcome back from your travels.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be back home.
Yes. Yusuf Serunkumo with provocative questions. They were not heard. Your microphone is not on.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he said practically that.
No, there's no microphone for you right now.
Make
So
sure they lost
let's go to now topic. Emmanuel Dombo, Uganda at 63. What is there to celebrate?
Oscar, thank you very much. I've missed these samosas for about 2 weeks.
Cool.
I also missed the fun in
the 7 minutes of silence you practiced as you
He
destroyed.
was trying to catch up with
I
ideas.
tried to catch up, but I don't know. But it was pleasant, and I want to thank you people for holding the fort. And when my brother was talking about UPC, it reminded me about a question which President Museveni was asked when we were winding up the Lango tour. The president decided to have a media brief at Balalege Studio Like, and the media was invited, and even phone callers were allowed to make phone calls, the president. And one of them categorically asked him whether he's not responsible for UPC's failure to get nominated. I wish my brother can hear this. And the president was categorically asked whether he wasn't responsible for failing the UPCs to get nominated. And the good thing is that my brother here has just acknowledged, like the president did mention, to the people of Lango and the people of Uganda, because this has been published in the New Vision, that story, as the president relayed it, that was an internal problem of the UPCs which they didn't resolve. Hopefully, when they will resolve it and they can talk to one another, they will be able to raise a presidential candidate in the next elections, other than these immediate ones. And that is something that we must be proud about, that Ugandans disagree, choose to present presidential candidates. Those who can't raise them, they opt out. And it's not only UPC that hasn't. You can find DP. For them, they took a real resolution. And they decided that this time, given what this old man has done and his contributions to the nation, they would rather that contest for other positions but leave him to run for the position of president. I've also seen DF. Is it DF? They couldn't raise a presidential candidate. They opted for the other smaller positions of members of parliament. And all this is happening at Uganda at 63. Because of the democracy, which my brothers Katuntu and his friends are pretending in the constitution and through the parliament of Uganda. Growing Uganda at 63, there have been ups and downs. There have been failures and successes. There have been issues that haven't gone well. But as a nation, I'm proud that we are beginning to talk to one another, because that is the most important. And once NRM has established that legacy, that Ugandans should not fight one another, but should instead talk to one another about issues that affect us. To us, that is implanting democracy, and is something that we must be proud about. I have not gone on the usual things that we talk about, the UPE, the USE, the infrastructure that we are dealing with, but we are now doing the software which makes us build or live together as a nation. So I want to call on the Ugandans who are out there, like my brother Bob Wine and team have demonstrated, to show that it's good to join iPod and begin talking about issues that affect us. Let us be real, so that we, as Uganda at 63, we shall commemorate that NUP at 5 joined iPod, determined to build Uganda together with all the other forces. And this is something that is going to go into the annals of history, and how I wish that all the people mean what they say when they do it. Then it will be good for us in the reconstruction of our country. But we have been on the trail. Uganda at 63, but for me, I was at 63. I was on the trail in Lango sub-region and beginning West Nile. Today we shall be in Nebi and Zombo. I will not be there, but my presidential candidate for the NRM will be there. And the people have spoken loud and clear that the results are out. And very soon, we shall be inviting people for the party for the swearing-in ceremony.
A few people think that's predictable as well, but
Like he's giving us breaking news.
yes.
Breaking news.
Yusuf Serunkuma, you're controversial, and you're presenting Uganda at 63 as an unintellectual movement, a lack of intellectual movement. That's how you're presenting.
Where did I say that?
You're hinting and implying that in your writings these days that we've lost intellectualism, and that's where we are.
Museveni's anti-intellectualism has really eaten deep into our society.
As someone who has struggled to get into academia, as someone who has struggled to do well, it is surprising for you to have that position.
I wouldn't say I've struggled to get into the academia. I think I've done what academics do. Academia is a space of power in politics. You have to be constantly negotiating this politics, and it's legitimated, as my professor used to say, it's legitimated by regimes of violence. There's so much violence in the academia that they say the P in PhD is politics. It's not really philosophy. But, one of the things that really fascinates me nowadays is that, those fighting Yoweri Museveni in the mainstream politics, and Museveni himself, agree on one thing, that intellectuals are useless. Because if Museveni will give you Balaam Balgahare and Nabanja, and people in the opposition will seek to give you the equals of Balaam Balgahare and Nabanja.
You forget Yusuf. You and Balaam, you are at the same level.
And they will insult whoever says.
You are at the same. You will call them Dr. Serunkuma, Dr. Barugahari. Same level.
Oscar, I need to build this point really. It's fascinating to a degree that, at some point we've decided repeating Museveni's talking points, that we've imbibed it so much that we've even repeated unwittingly to a degree, right? So I think this, I didn't want to start that way, Oscar. I mean, watching the news on Independence Day was really fascinating for me. When we speak about independence, NTV did broadcast their news segment, the 9 o'clock segment, with the Independence Monument behind them, right? And it was a very telling picture for me, because when you look at the Independence Monument, it is surrounded by foreign capital. It's like sandwiched in the middle of foreign capital. So you have Sheraton at the back, you have Speak Hotel on the left side, you have Stanbic Bank somewhere, is it either Stanchart or Stanbic, somewhere in the corner, then you have Grand Imperial here, then you can see Shell over there, and then you can have a whiff of Bank of Uganda somewhere. And I think that picture is very telling. And I had to thank NT for doing that, saying their news behind the Independence Monument, because somehow they managed to get the Kampala executive director to read the list of the things that surround the Independence Monument. It's foreign capital, Shell, Stanchart. You even have this colonial nomenclature, Speck Hotel, Grand Imperial. Those are the things that surround our Independence Monument. And you can actually extrapolate from just that image and say that's where we are. You know the professor of economics, perhaps the only current political economist we have in this country, Professor Ezra Sruma, told us before we start on our banks, we'll remain a colonial enclave, we'll remain slaves. So, Oscar, when we speak independence, and that's the image that you have, that as a country we don't own anything. We don't own anything because colonialism was about extracting from these African enclaves. It was about extraction. So if you look at us now, and the extractions is many, many times what it used to be under the colonial period. You know, Oscar, I write about this figure in my book. Between 1960 and 2018, the African continent has lost $168 trillion through unequal exchange. And we come around and say, we're independent 60 years on, but we know we collapsed Coffee Marketing Board, 7% of our coffee is exported by foreigners. Our banking regime, 22 of the 24, all of them are foreign owned. Our airwaves, all of them owned by foreign companies, MTN and Airtel. We collapsed our UTL. So we talk about independence. We talk about our petroleum. It's Total, Shell, Tallow, all of those are foreign. When you look elsewhere, countries that have been able to grow, have been able to locally harvest their resources, their airwaves, their marine resources, their natural resources. When you look at our Lake Victoria, they said there are plots. People can't farm there. Like fishermen can't go fish in their natural resource because foreigners have taken over this space. So when we talk about independence, I really found the imagery of NTV doing their news broadcast in front of the Independence Monument really telling. That's what we are. We are sandwiched. That baby has failed to grow, and we are sandwiched in foreign capital.
Thank you, Yusuf, Dr. Yusuf Senkuma. I was a bit distracted and disturbed by the examples you gave. So just a quick question. So in your opinion, a quick question. We are not in a good place.
We're not in a good place because we don't own our country. In fact, the history that Joseph read out here about UPC being a victim of colonial control, trying to support the Russian movement is actually accurate. That man Rolling was going around shopping.
Isn't that a narrative from somewhere?
No, William Pike, the owner of this, writes in his book about how Rolling was going around shopping. Who of those people fighting Milton Obote was not a communist? Who will enable foreign capital access to Uganda's resources? And he found the response that Museveni was not. And Museveni is our president and has been our president ever since.
Okay. Honorable Abdu Katuntu, as you come on, we have two lawyers in the studio. Our usual Malcolm Pamizo. Most welcome to Gang.
Thank you very much, Oscar. A very good morning to our listeners. I apologize for being late to Mwalimu's class. Very good reason. A charity run for the Friends International Christian Academy, which is celebrating 10 years, but also building a floor for special needs children. One of the few international Christian schools that has an open door policy for special needs children. So it was a very active morning for me.
Indeed. Thank you for participating in that. I hope you put in good mileage.
The longest was a 10-kilometer run, and I
You did 10.
I did 10. I won't say whether I ran and walked all through, but I did 10.
Performance, participation, and getting to the line is important.
Yes.
I also have a very important person in the studio, Anthony Asimwe, the Vice President of the Uganda Law Society, of the Radical New. But you came in rather quietly. And
that wasn't quite radical.
Not in a radical way.
All along, I was worried about how I will contain you.
I thought it was radical enough. Good morning, everyone, and I'm happy to be here. Similar reason I stepped in late because I'm from a police station to try and save a soul, help someone who has been in detention and a member of the Law Society. That's why I had to first go there and handle myself. But I'm happy to be here.
Right.
So, of Law Society at the police.
Well, lawyers have to go to police.
Doing what there?
You may not be aware, but in most of the times these days, lawyers are actually arrested while doing their work. And you find someone who has gone to rescue a client. At the end of the day, they reach there and they say, now go in. And it's something we are struggling with.
And that is never in our history.
Yes,
never in our history.
Trying to make
Uganda at 63.
Yes, it's that bad.
Yeah.
Right. Abdul, Uganda at 63. So far, we've had positives from Emmanuel Dombo, who has thrown in what their campaign routine, what they're doing on the campaign trail. Yusuf, as you've heard, the last time I had him here, he was just a cynic. Now he has taken it to a higher level about how we are not in a good...
Among the things I said. Where is the lie, Oscar?
Let's see what Abdul says.
Well, Yusuf just forgets that what he's calling Sheraton is actually not Sheraton. That is Apollo Hotel.
Exactly.
Yeah. And maybe my brother Emmanuel may not know it, or he conveniently forgets. Yes. But that will be a conversation for some other time. For those who are young, may not know that actually Sheraton Hotel is actually Apollo Hotel, belonging to Apollo Corporation, and that name is a deliberate name. The biggest problem, Oscar...
Don't start fights with Ocheno here. Now you start saying Apollo Foundation, what?
It's a fantastic submissions.
You see, Uganda and politics has one biggest problem: rewriting history. Sometimes those of us who try to be as genuine as possible to ourselves, we get disgusted. But let's look at this. Uganda at 63. Why are we calling ourselves Uganda at 63? We became independent, meaning we managed to overthrow, if I use those words, the colonial regime and established an indigenous, I don't know whether it is indigenous, but established what you would call an independent government of independent Uganda. What is it that we have achieved today and we would not have achieved today if we are still under colonial administration? If Emmanuel, you can answer that question, would be I'd be very glad to take on a substantive conversation. What is it that we have today, and it is not possible that we would have had it if we are still under colonial administration? But we'd also ask another question. If the colonial administration was there these 63 years, would Uganda be worse off or better off? Is Uganda where it's supposed to be or not? And if so, what are the challenges? What other than, say, self-determination? Because really, self-determination, all of us know that it's a human nature. You, however poor you are, you need to manage your own home. You aspire, and so on. That we have achieved. There is no doubt about it. Now that you have Katuntu, Dombo, Cheno, Serunkuma, all these funny clans names are there. They are in State House, they are in cabinet ministries, they are permanent secretaries. Is that what independence was all about? Or if we are talking about the quality of life of this ordinary Oscar Semwaya Musoke from Bamunanika, has his life improved in terms of, 1, better health, 2, the infrastructure, 3, education, and so on. We can go on and on and on. What is it that we have made a qualitative change, and where is it that we have done a quantitative change? And these changes, are they a result of just a natural phenomenon, like increase of population? Or are these deliberate policies that have been achieved because we are independent? I mean, these are the critical questions, Emmanuel, which we should be asking ourselves.
You know, it is something our NAFCA usually says to Moses Berahanga, that a tree will grow. Whether you are in independence or not independence, if you have a tree out there, it will grow. That's what you're saying. How much credit do you take?
I want to put it in my own words, because sometimes I differ with the way NAFCA puts her points, and so I don't want to fall into that trap. But I think she's making a very critical point that actually, once there is a tree there, it will grow. Devasoga, we have a saying, Emmanuel knows this, about the Movole tree. We say what? Guamera gwene. You know, it just grew. So there are things that kumera kwene, that just grows on its own. With or without watering, it will grow. So there are those sort of things, like the population will increase. And if we take basic economics, you see, the bigger the population, the higher the economic growth. Why? Because economic growth, defining it technically, means just increase of goods and services produced. That's what they call economic growth. And bigger populations have the tendency of producing more goods and services because of their sheer numbers. But when we talk about development, it's a different thing. Because development is about qualitative, the improvement of the livelihoods, the welfare of the people themselves. So, yes, as we celebrate self-determination, to me, I think we just need an introspection. What is it that we are not doing correctly? What is it that we can do that this Munyole from Ubutaleja will be extremely happy and say we are independent? That's the most critical one. But, sometimes it's just something about small achievements, or those which have even come as a result of Jamira Jane. Really, it doesn't help, and so on. So, to conclude, we still have a lot to do. We've made a few gains. They are, yes, they're okay. We should be proud of them. But in my view, my honest view is we should do more than that. We can't be proud that we are at this stage of development. You just move in this Kampala and you go just a few kilometers there, and you see what goes on there. And here we say we are independent. And the sort of, if you talk about the most controversial governance, this thing which happened in the NRM primaries, how can you say this is what we should be proud of? For example, as members of NRM, for those who are in NRM primaries, those are things you should be ashamed of. When you see the sort of videos we watch on social media, there are incidents which I think we shouldn't be proud of doing simply because we want to show that we have a right of self-determination.
Wow. Are you sure?
Am I sure? You want to take me on that one, Emmanuel?
Not today.
No, actually, I want to take it on here. Now, not even today, but now. But that will be for another day.
Yes, Anthony Asimwe, Vice President of the Law Association, Law Society.
Please.
Radical New Bar.
Law Society. Uganda Law Society.
Radical New Bar. But the radicalness was taken out. Uganda 63, you have no president. So these are some of the challenges that we have in Uganda at 63.
He's holding the fort. Revolutionary reality.
The constitution of UL says if the president not there, there is a president. And as I talk now, is the boss. So there is never a vacuum.
True, but I think he has understood my question.
No, I do. I like.
I don't want him to explain himself.
The direction this discussion is taking. That's one of the examples. We have similar scenarios. We are seeing people being abducted in broad daylight. Their whereabouts are not known. The security agencies will tell you we don't have them. We don't know where they are. We are seeing. We have so many examples. Recently, we had two Kenyans who disappeared all of a sudden. The pressure is mounting.
Disappeared from Uganda?
No one is owning up. Yes, we had two Kenyan activists who are here attending, I think, a Nup rally, and they were abducted by plain-clothed men. And up to now, I think it's coming to 2 weeks.
There's Mugumya as well?
There's some Mugumya. We've had, also clear communication from the police and security agencies saying we do not have him. Even
Is that the latest?
they've been denying having holding him, and then we've been following the BSJ and Rotary trial, and what's been happening generally. The fact that when you look at the 30 years of the Constitution, which should be reflecting, the independence you're talking about, the fact that if you look at the way it was structured, separation of powers, each organ is supposed to act independently. But I think it was really for purposes of checks and balances. But our major concern really is all these incidences you're seeing, including the fact that even the president of the Ugandan Society is not here. We're seeing scenarios where institutions like the judiciary is not performing, is not doing the actual work they are mandated to do or what they're supposed to do. And that's why the citizenry is supposed to run for safety. And the question remains, is there really this whole thing we are saying is in the Constitution, the separation of powers, and the fact that have a judiciary independent, have the parliament independent, have the executive. Is it possible that we are able to actually have that non-interference with the functions of these bodies? Because between you and I, what is on ground, what is on paper, is completely different from what is on ground.
Yeah, it looks like.
What we should be celebrating are the I see people use the gains, the achievements. Are we proud of what we are seeing, what is happening in the country? Just a few weeks ago, we were celebrating our, we usually have an annual Rule of Law Week. And we decided to celebrate one of the biggest figures, the late Sam Njuba. We're here at ULS House, across. And why we commemorated him was because of the contribution he made in the development of jurisprudence, constitutionalism, and I learned a lot of things. The man contributed to even bringing the government in power. He was even out there. He was arrested, I think, several times. He's one of the people who served almost in every position, even during the Constitutional Commission. He was part of it. He contributed a lot. And we felt there is an issue of, we call it information symmetry. The young generation does not have an idea of where we came from. And we felt, as the Radical Nuba, we feel it's a disservice. So we're trying to bridge that gap. What Senior Abdul Katuntu here knows, most lawyers of my generation have no idea. Unfortunately, we are, I think, about 70% of the membership. And the actually 75, 85. And the Abdul Katuntus here and people in that caliber are very few, but they know a lot, which most of us and the other generation doesn't know. Yet, really, we have a mandate to help, to ensure we bridge that gap and assist the public in matters touching the law. Now, while we're there, we hosted Honorable Kaindo Tafire,
the minister,
yes, and
Internal Affairs.
And I can assure you, you could tell that even what we're talking about, if someone who has been at the forefront of all this is telling you, I'm not comfortable with what I'm seeing, I'm not sure if I go tomorrow, this is what I fought for. Because if you talk about constitutionalism and the rule of law, do you really have respect for this from the top, from the the leaders we have. Do they really respect the constitution and constitutionalism and these principles, or it's just either we feel they either do not know or they intentionally choose to disrespect or do all the wrong things? Because in a country where we're seeing disregard for the rule of law, we're seeing impunity in broad daylight, and the unfortunate thing is there's no accountability, because all the things that have happened, all these wrong things that have happened in breach of the law, especially by people in power, we've not seen any person being brought to book or any person who has been held accountable. Because I think for people to trust in the system, for the citizens to trust in the system, they must believe that if there's a wrong that has been committed on the citizenry, the person who did that should be held responsible. And I think it is the duty of the leaders we have to ensure that that happens. Because, I mean, if we degenerate into people believing that we're not protected by the law, that means we have to take the law into our hands and find our own solutions. And I was attending an event yesterday by the Center for Constitutional Governance where we're talking about the Constitution, the 30 years of the Constitution, and the young people are asking, okay, we've tried everything. We have the Constitutional Court, we've seen decisions being disrespected in broad daylight. We are seeing the judiciary not helping much. So what is left? What should we do as the young generation? And the question was, being sent back to the young generation, saying, no, you need to find your own solutions. Because if these people cannot give us solutions, everything is there. And we had, I think, about 3 members who are part of that, the constitutional, the commission. I think Honorable Miriam Atembe. I think we had the retired judge Ogola, and I think another member, Professor Sempewa. And yes, and they were
Sempewa and Matembe, yes.
Yes, and they were telling you Sempewa and Matembe, yeah, and they were telling us that we did our part. We feel what we gave Ugandans was based on research. So the rest of how you deal with it is up to you.
Your business.
So I can imagine you're telling
you as the radical new bar. I know that Abdul Katuntu here would not support your president because of his use of language, as he refused to support Dr. Sarah Nyanzi because of her use of language or bad black. But he might be with you in spirit, but not overtly. But
he's a member.
He's a member. I mean, when you tried out something, you can see how quickly it was stifled.
See, the challenge we have here is people hiding behind what we call...
You came into the studio very politely, no banging, no standing on the table. So
no, people understand that really differently. We have a challenge in Uganda where people hide behind what we call decorum. And you come, you're looking nice, you're speaking good English, you're making good speeches, but what you're doing behind is actually the most heinous of offenses. We're seeing how people in these offices are corrupt, how they swindle public funds, how they actually abuse even the basic of the rights, but they'll come and stand and look so nice and speak. The reason we had that approach was... Yeah, and they praise the Lord, like he's saying. And
I was going to... microphone is going to Malcolm, but I know that Malcolm sits at the front in church.
But the reason we took that approach, the reason we took that approach was there was this feeling that we are tired of the status quo. We are tired of doing the same thing, the same way. You're going to keep getting the same results. That's why you see when we said we are being radical, we are taking a radical approach, holding the bull by the horns. Everyone listens because everyone listens, and our approach is very different from what has happened before. We speak truth to power. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, but we say this is what you're supposed to be doing. By the way, we have a mandate, a statutory mandate, and I'm sure Abdu knows when you look at our Act, Section 3, it gives us a very clear mandate as the Ugandan society. But the challenge is, we even the young generation, we felt as the society we're not really being relevant enough to public, because if you're supposed to guide and advise, and they've been speaking, we've seen them, it's not like they've not been in those offices, but who has been listening? No one. So we said, why not have a different approach? We bang the tables and people will listen. That's why we do that.
And they are now listening.
They are listening. We are seeing changes.
Oh, are you sure?
Hold on, let's get Malcolm in. Yeah?
You know, under apartheid, it was difficult to write love poetry. You had to go hard in the pain, and that's what the radical new is trying to do.
In the Yusuf, they have a partner.
He understands.
He have this, you share DNA.
He embodies.
Oscar is a willing ally.
At the time of Dr. Stella Nyanzi, Yusuf was there.
I know.
And he was giving quiet support. His language doesn't go there. But you must understand that I was one of the early mentors of Yusuf Serunkuma. So sometimes I sit back and say, what did I do?
Is this the boy? Is this
your product?
Did I radicalize a man to this extent?
I have the same problem also with the one political activist.
Yes.
Who is now actually in jail. I'm always like, yes,
what did you
I
do?
mentored, and but could I have done better?
I must say I like Yusuf.
I think it's
He's
a,
writing
Be
good
proud
books.
of your work.
I am very, very.
I think it's a sign of the times when the good work that has been done leads people to places like those. So Honorable Abdu, please, you should be proud, because those are the fruits.
Yeah. Malcolm, Yusuf has given us a reference to South Africa. I was in South Africa, different part from where Abdu was as well. And yes, we can see that the spirit, we are Ugandans, we are free in the independence. But in Cape Town, you look for black people and say, are these black people free? It worries you. But the services are so good, but then you think, these people, are they free? And then when you come back to Uganda, like we got back to Uganda late night, the check-in, the digital check-in is not working.
Even when it is functional, after checking in at the digital, you go back to the officer.
Yeah.
To stamp it's a nightmare.
And then I had to pay. We went to a winery. I should regale you with his stories some of his days, one of his days, and we brought back some goodies Abdu and Serunkuma may not like. And now the taxman says you need to pay this, but then generate a PRN. You cannot pay it digitally. You can only pay it in there.
In cash.
And now you keep thinking, at 63, and we have all these good things, because if you've gotten a PRN, you can go on. You can even ask Dombo to pay for you. But
Those are the gains.
so at 63 for you young people,
progressive improvement.
I think that for me, it was very surreal, I'll say, to celebrate 63 years of Uganda's independence with videos of Clive Nsima going around on social media.
Who is Clive Nsima?
That is how we celebrated
Who is Clive
independence. Assistant Superintendent of Police that was captured live.
The one who slapped a
slapping.
girl.
Yes. Now we are celebrating independence, and it's a question probably for the doctor.
I heard that the girl responded to him badly.
The video was
it's possible. So what happens?
Yeah.
If they respond to you badly?
So you should have a training to handle bad responses.
Well, if before slapping her he says, I can slap you in front of these cameras here and nothing will happen.
Wow.
Then it was always going to happen, whether she had responded well or not. I think he was attuned to, and for me that shows how much of the state is an appendage of the colonial system we claim to have been independent, to claim to be independent of. 63 years down the road.
Driving him?
I'm not.
It's impunity.
It looks like it
the word
is.
is power.
Yeah.
He
And
was
abused.
in a position of power, and he can do anything, and he says, I'll do it even if there are cameras.
And by the way, don't miss, there's something else he said, and we shall go to court.
Yes.
So he was sure,
and nothing
when
will
he
happen.
goes to court, nothing will
Nothing's
happen to him.
so actually,
He
he's-
said that's what they call power.
and currently he's in the process of going to court.
And he knows
we are
nothing
we are
will
waiting
happen.
to see if anything is going to happen. But
He knows he has
those are stories you heard about in pre-colonial in the colonial era. So in the pre-independence era.
Even in UPC time.
So
Yeah, but
even-
don't respect when
You just had to, Oscar.
And I have this background of UPC, but I must concede that sometimes it happened even in UPC time.
Yeah.
I don't know about sometimes.
So that pervasiveness of impunity and brutality which has really overshadowed the 63 years of independence is what we have to contend with today. And you ask yourself, was there independence? Independence from whom? If we say we fought for independence, did we fight? Were we granted independence? So that again is a battle for the academics. But what is clear is I'm a budding one as well.
What is clear?
But what is clear for me is that when the state took over after the colonial government left, there was it was a mere change of guards, because they took on the colonial apparatus, and became the embodiment of oppression. The state was in control, and in so doing, using the apparatus that they inherited, they did then, and you've mentioned the UPC time, and continue to do today, exert the same colonial mindset over the people of Uganda. Now, I might be painting with a very broad brush, but I am not. What I'm saying is not false. There are certainly gains that can be protected, that can be spoken of, but you've exhausted that conversation around what continues to grow even when nothing is happening around. So the quality of growth. I think that's what Honorable was trying to talk about. What is the quality of growth over these 63 years? If someone was born in 1962 and today they are 63, are they any better off than they would have been if Uganda had still been a colony? You talk about South Africa, and certainly the way in which Uganda and South Africa were treated by the colonizers was certainly different. More settler in South Africa. Here were really just a back office that was churning out cash crops for industries, and so there was not a lot of care in terms of infrastructure. But there's not much independence to speak of, if we're being very honest. When you look at the different areas, whether it is economic independence, how much of our major infrastructure is done with money that was generated internally. We know very well how the URA has continued to, scratch and dig from the very same shallow well, hoping to get more water in there. So there's the scaffolding of the colonial era has never gone, and it continues to plague several aspects of post-independence life in Uganda.
Yeah, I want to run the topic out but I'm going to take 3 comments.
Yes,
but we'll do Joseph, Abdu, and Emmanuel. But just to frame things, Abdu is the best. I think Abdu and Malcolm have traveled most on this table, but it was the first time for me to go. It was the first time for me to go to Ethiopia, going to South Africa, and so these stories are going to stay in my head. Maybe I'll meet with Yusuf to write an article, because you go to Ethiopian airport, they're building a new airport. You look at their planes; they're like cows. People who know cows would understand. Their planes look like cows out there.
20 years ago, actually, there was a small airport.
Yeah.
Very, very small, not even as small as Entebbe, very, very small. Now they have got that gigantic one.
Yeah.
But as you know, Ethiopian Airways is the biggest airline on the continent. Yeah.
And they're building a bigger one as well.
Oh yes,
So then you go
because
to
of the volume of traffic going through the airport.
Yeah.
So they started with a smaller one. They are in this one, which is actually a modern, far bigger than Entebbe. But again, they are putting up even.
And the dam?
Oh yeah, that's another.
and then you go to Cape Town, and then Cape Town is like Ginger of South Africa, and you think, and then when you come to Uganda, the Uganda airport is looking really good, and the service, the level of service you get from the people,
5 years ago it wasn't that.
the level of service you get from the service providers, the people, but it's the system, because they don't do the digital system, they don't do the PRNs, they don't do. It's incredible. And then I made a mistake. I went to the top floor via the lift, and then the thing is incomplete. So
No, they're still constructing.
Okay,
work in
I have a story
progress.
for you from Bole International Airport.
yeah, let me stop. Okay,
Yeah.
let's have a second.
If you buy coffee from that airport,
Which one?
Bole International Airport,
Okay.
the Ethiopian airport, you get a receipt. Please read the receipt. Some of those receipts say bought from the Oromia Cooperative Union. At their airport, they are promoting their cooperative unions. What happened in this country?
I can see where you're going now.
No, and this is the fact.
This
We
one's broke it.
We collapsed all of them. Oscar, the explanation for the growth of Ethiopia is because they had a prime minister called Meles Zenawi who refused the nonsense of privatization. Till his death, he refused to open to foreign banks, to foreign air telecommunication companies. That's the genius of that country. That you see where it is because they've been able to grow local business people
Partly.
to a great degree.
Thank you, Yusuf. We stop for a break. After a break, a minute. Joseph, Abdul, Emmanuel, and then we'll go to the Vice President of the Law Society. Welcome back from the break. This is the Capitalgang. Yes, a few people caught a bit of a offline discussion, and Emmanuel Domba will explain why there are yellow posters in the airports. That's for him. So the queue was Joseph, 1 minute, and then Abdu 1 minute, Emmanuel Domba 1 minute. No. Then we go to lawyering with. We have a vice president here, Yusuf. Let's get the president to speak.
No, you know that I only had an introduction, but not a contribution on this independence thing. And there's my part. But very quickly, you just need to know, Emmanuel.
Your introduction was as good enough. Because you
that
told us
airport,
how fantastic.
that airport, Malcolm was just reminding me, as a common knowledge that people don't know, was at independence the largest on tropical Africa. Entebbe International Airport was the largest on tropical Africa, but now, until some of the recent refurbishments, it was really the shame of the region. Number two, I'm told, unconfirmed, that terrible police officer who slapped that little kid in a young lady at the petrol station may have been released without charge. I have no confirmation. If it is the case, it will be one of the biggest indictment of impunity in this country, completely unacceptable, and I might even consider whether or not I should go to the bush. Now, quick 3 things. One, Emmanuel talked about Museveni and Akena. I just want to say that Museveni and Akena, they're quite right. But one thing that Museveni did not tell the people of Lango is that Akena was sustained actually in Uganda House, thanks really by the backing of the state and the indifference of the Electoral Commission and the judicial system. But yes, we are where we are, but I think people need to know that. But number two, we did not field the candidate, not because of this question of the Electoral Commission, but simply because the judiciary has failed to do its job. You know, there are matters in court which have been pending for the last 4.5 years, and yet these are basic matters of judicial review, and I'm an interested party. And it's absolutely a shame talking about Uganda at independence and Uganda at 63. Finally, I just want to say that you see me in blue, very, very fantastic blue, Mwiri with Emmanuel, rather with Abdu. The reason why I'm doing it is because this is a Mwiri staff. And yesterday at the event that our young president is talking about here, Justice Ogola was talking about the things at independence that remain intact. Our national flag, and I think our national anthem. But he forgot that the national anthem is actually partly a gift from Bosoga College, Mwiri, which is forgotten in my country. And we're wondering what went wrong. What went wrong is that the country went in the hands of people who do not have this nation at heart. But finally, I just want to say that I just lost my cousin this morning, and my cousin was returned home from Nagongara local health facility simply because they couldn't provide medication for him. Now, this is the son of the last Mutaka chief of my area, and simply because Nagongara could not look after him and the family didn't have money to extend further treatment for him, including taking him to Toro Hospital. It's an indictment of independence. A young man whose grandfather fought for this country and his leg was broken. The NRA guys broke our health system, broke our educational system, broke our banks. And Yusuf, as you were saying, the background monuments we're talking about, all those were public institutions built and founded by Uganda People's Congress, but sold by this NRA bunch.
Thank you, Joseph. Abdul Moses Peranga tells you, independence first and foremost was about self-governance, irrespective of the quality of that governance. So he agrees with you on that one. Is the situation different today from 1962? Yes, in many aspects. Then he lists the roads, 855 kilometers then. Today, 6,300 kilometers. Doesn't include 1,300 kilometers of roads under construction. Power generating 2,052 megawatts against 150 in 1962. For your information.
I just want again take him to basic economics. Let him read more about economic growth and economic development. Then he will not have those sort of arguments. But that's a conversation for another day. Anyway, let us look at differently. And I want us to graduate from Uganda and we look at the continent. From the country, my second workstation, which is in South Africa. A few years ago, South Africa got independence from the apartheid regime. The political party that represented the values of the white superiority or supremacy is the Democratic Alliance. And it was a very, very small party representing a very small group of people. The African National Congress was this gigantic mass movement and really suffocated of all the small parties, whether this one or the Inkatha freedom fighters, they were really minimal. Today, the situation has changed. The Democratic Alliance is now the second biggest political party in South Africa, including now blacks joining the whites against the African National Congress, which was really the independence vehicle of South Africa. The frustration the South Africans are having with the performance of the African National Congress has led them to actually join the people who were apartheid protagonists. Last year, let me tell you, it is so bad, Oscar, that today, if you had a party in this country which says, by the way, we are here, we represent the colonialists and the values and the development, even development of the country and so on.
Let him make his point.
Okay. I don't know. Sometimes being an academic is not a compliment. So you see, you will find that there are many Ugandans who would be actually willing to vote for that sort of party, because they will say, look here, when we had colonialism Oscar here, take for example Tororo. What is it that was in Tororo which was not in Fort Portal, which was not in Moroto, which was not in Jinja or Hoima and so on? The country was even disputed. Whether you're talking about the regional hospitals, you're talking about what? Something which now is a big question. So we need to be very careful, Oscar, that if we continue making the same mistakes, having the same challenges and weaknesses, especially those of us in power, you'll find younger people saying, by the way, it's better we go back, because these people looked at this country differently. So my view, Oscar, is as we celebrate this independence, we need just to identify where our problems are. And if we don't address them, don't be surprised that the radical new buzz We'll go to the radical medical, radical vendors in the market, radical what, and everywhere it will be radical.
Dombo is going to tell you that they have a solution. Where is the radical president?
Well, maybe it is the beginning. You might be overwhelmed with the radical something.
Yeah.
So, but it's not too late. We can change the trajectory.
Okay.
We can address the issues and move forward as a country.
Mala Dombo, are you responsible for the yellow posters in the airport since you are chief campaigner?
I'll need to know who put up the posters, and this is a campaign period, and the poster is beautiful. We shall need to know.
So you put beauty in the airport?
How it has been put. I'll need to visit. I cannot comment because I haven't been to the airport, but to me, anything that promotes the brand that I talk for, it is something that I would support. But let Ugandans know that when we got independence, we did not walk to heaven. We are taking over governance with the people who are ill-prepared, less land, and the infrastructure and the ability to work together. These were young people at the time of independence. Obote was 30-something.
But now those now are not young.
Kabaka Mutesa was about 30-something also. The other ministers were in their 20s. They were youth, given power, but they didn't know what to do, and the power collapsed in their hands. By the time NRM came in, we didn't have kingdoms. They had collapsed them. The economy had collapsed. NRM did not collapse this economy. It has come to revive it. So, my dear brothers, I want to tell you that we had few professors. Now we have Serunkuma is a professor here. Let them use their brains and knowledge so that they can deliver this country out of the problems that we have. To begin blaming President Museveni when he has created an environment to create new professors that we did not have is not something that is.
Why bring the name of President Museveni?
No, some people alluded.
No, nobody has talked about President Museveni in this conversation.
Then the final one.
Yes.
Oscar.
Yes.
How can a policeman go to a supermarket and beat a Mwananchi? And members of parliament are there also commenting and laughing. What is their work?
They are supposed to arrest policemen.
Police went and they beat Nabira, a member of parliament.
Yeah.
I was a member of parliament then. I went to parliament and moved the motion, and we even put up a select committee, and people were invited, and reforms were made. Members of parliament, the legal framework does not promise heaven. It does not immunize people from bad governance. It does not treat bad hearts from individuals. Good governance creates an opportunity for institutions, those who have the power and those who have the ability to use the structures of government to do their work.
Oscar, if
Parliament was to create a select committee for every level of for every display of impunity by security services, by people in so they would not have no other.
No, we will have 1,001 select committee.
Let me tell you,
Malcolm,
but
where I want to agree with Emmanuel Dombo is that it would be a start. If there's a loud outcry about a policeman,
why would people be coming on radio to lament when they have an opportunity and the law provides them? They have powers of the High Court. Why was that power given to them? Is there any institution which was given that power?
They have attempted to exercise that power, we know, and they have been very unsuccessful.
I think it's being unfair. First of all, even the parliament.
So, Emmanuel Dombo, I have agreed with you. Also, this one is the public court. So the mere fact that you brought it up here, Malcolm, it shows
Let
that
them do their work.
yes, I have agreed.
Because the NRM established.
So thank you, gentlemen. We're a bit late. You bring it in your submission. But someone, I forget the name, someone on X says, do you know that it is not the colonialists who brought corruption? And then Kahunga Masiko says to Ochieno, that was not UPC work, it was UDC work instituted by Governor Cohen. UPC was just a lucky recipient. No. So, Anthony Asim. You should have seen Malcolm fighting the microphone away from Let him have a hand over samosa to him. So I missed the ULS debate, election debate this week. And what was the theme of the debate, and how did it go? Maybe you'll do the introduction. Like next week, we are going to have elections of.
Okay. If you at the beginning you said, we are radical, we are handling things, we are handling matters radically, and we took a radical approach to most of these problems. Remember, when we had just come into office, we had what we called our RNB Executive Order Number 2, and this was mainly focused on. We called it a radical surgery of the judiciary. We've had a judiciary which we think is so weak, has not been performing its role. Yet we have the power, like Emmanuel here is saying, we have the power to do something about it. And we felt as the governing council, as the Uganda Society, as the Radical New Bar, we need to take action. Now, the judiciary begins with what we call the Judicial Service Commission in Article 146 that has power and has a duty of, appointing appointment of judicial officers, disciplinary, and dealing with any issues to do with judiciary and the judicial officers. Now, of course, there are so many problems where we realized you can't touch a single problem and you discuss it alone. You go back to the beginning. So realize the way appointments are being made, the way the people do the wrong things. Like you asked about the president who is not in the country. We know it is because there has been a judicial coup against the RNB, where the judiciary is being used to fight or to silence the voices of the people, which is wrong. But coming back to the Judicial Service Commission, on the commission, Uganda Society is supposed to have 2 representatives. When you look at our act, our Uganda Society Act and the regulations, those 2 representatives are supposed to be voted for by the members of the society. But we've had leaders in the past who just sit and select members and they send them there against the principle, against the laws. So in our Executive Order Number 2, we decided to recall the people who are there, notwithstanding the fact that their term of office was running, because as aware you've seen, I saw in Parliament, I think when they are presenting the new members, they are creating a new, the term of office is usually 4 years. So we said, as we go to a new Judicial Service Commission, which should be a reflection of what we need, what judiciary we need to have, we needed to open up. We call it democratization. It's one of our 4 Ds. Demilitarization is one of them. We have democratization, and we felt we need to allow the members of the society to choose their representatives, because it's very important. They play an important role, and it's for really about 3 major reasons, but one of them is accountability. If I sit as a SIM, or if Semakade sits and he just selects, a senior counsel Dukatuntu because he's a friend, he will only be accountable to Semakade or to me because I sent him to the Judicial Service Commission. He's not going to be accountable to the members. So we also felt we need to respect, I think sometime in 2022, one of the members, Karari Stephen, went to court and challenged the way these people were sent to the Judicial Service Commission. They were just people selected by the president of the Law Society, they're not by the members. And the court said, it is wrong for ULS to send members to the Judicial Service Commission without subjecting them to an election, without the members participating. So in that executive order, we also announced that we are going to have the members vote for their representatives. They choose the people. They need to go and represent them at the Judicial Service Commission because of the significance of the commission. We were supposed to have that election on the 17th of December. And if you've been following, you've even had some, we call them puppets, who are being used by other members to influence, by other members to try and shut us down from doing what we feel is right. So we started with court cases, and unfortunately, yes, we were talking about this gentleman who slapped a girl, and he said, I'll go to court. I'll slap you, go to court, and we'll see what will happen. We have members who will say, we shall go to court, we shall get an order stopping you, and they are sure they will get it. They actually went to court, and they got an injunction stopping us from holding those elections. These are fellow members of the bar who are being used as puppets to try and silence and silence the bar, the radical new bar, because we are outspoken and we are doing what we feel should be the best thing to be done. That notwithstanding, we still proceeded. We had, since I think February 14th, when we had a decision from Judge Sekana saying you cannot hold this meeting to vote for your members, the time lapsed. We saw the president appointing members of the Judicial Service Commission, and they actually went ahead and started doing their work, minus the representatives from the Uganda Society, which is wrong. We actually even went and filed a constitutional petition saying it is not properly constituted, or the appointments or the work they are doing should not be done. It is wrong. Now, we've now come to a point where we had an opportunity, a window of opportunity, where we got on the 17th of September, we had a general meeting by the members of the society, because there was a window which had also been closed by the same judge way back, saying we cannot even have member petitioned meetings. And we managed to deal with that case. It got out of court. So we had member petitions for a general meeting, which we held. And members passed a resolution that this thing of Judicial Service Commission is very important. In fact, you should hold those elections in not more than 2 weeks from now. So we agreed that we resolved that we should go ahead and hold those elections in a month's time. And on the 18th of this month, we are going to have elections of our representatives to the Judicial Service Commission. We are supposed to send the names, which should be the nomination of the Uganda Society to the president, where he chooses. Those are the people he chooses to represent us. And again, even as we are doing that, we are still not far away from probably there's another risk of judicial interference, because again, other members have run to court to still go and stop that. I think even on Monday, we should be having an application coming up, a very stupid application from one of the members saying we cannot meet on that day. And this is something we've been fighting. We've had our cases before, the appeals being cause-listed, then decause-listed by individual members in the judiciary who are being used, which is really absurd. And that is why we're saying we must have that radical surgery of the judiciary. But as the candidates have been campaigning, because the requirement is that someone has to be of 15 years of standing, that is according to our regulations. So we have around 11 candidates who I feel have presented the best to the members. The advantage that we've had, because these people have campaigned since December, it's almost a year, we've been able to see the cream. At least when we are voting for these people, we know the people we are dealing with, because this period alone has exposed who has, the heart, who has the understanding of the role or the magnitude of the task ahead, because that is not a simple task. So, of course, the debate was part of the electoral period, because we have an independent elections committee that conducts any elections, be it for our council members when we're coming into office, and also for any position that requires an election. So the debate was, part of the campaign, where the candidates are given an opportunity to speak to the membership. Yeah. Right now we have close to 7,000 members. I think the active ones are about 6,000. And we feel we chose to open that door, that window, and we feel as the Radical New Bites one of our achievements, where we've allowed the members to participate in choosing who represents them in this important aspect. So the debate was really interesting. I think we have another on Monday. And these candidates, 11 of them, were able to speak to the membership and other members of the public, because much as the people who vote are members of the Uganda Society, we feel even other people are not lawyers, have been given an opportunity and a chance to understand what happens, what goes on, because either it is our mandate to ensure that the public is aware. The government has failed to do that role, to perform that role of sensitizing the public about this.
Anthony, a tongue-in-cheek question. What would have happened if you'd taken emoluments out of it, say, propose a law that says it will be a voluntary position?
The voluntary position?
Yes. Perhaps you'd have fewer lawyers wishing to join the JSC.
Now, before it was actually voluntary. I don't know. And people say it is about the remuneration and the benefit someone gets. And that is why it's important that the candidates demonstrate their intentions or their understanding of the roles. And of course it is enticing for someone to see, you saw what has been happening recently. So our politics has been commercialized, which is very dangerous. But for such a position, really, if you have someone who is interested in what I'm going to earn, what I'm going to benefit, it's very dangerous. And our candidates really gave the membership, different ideas and different views and different, we're able to appreciate. It's easy now for one to pick from the candidates and say this person has a better agenda, this person has understood their role, because much as we have a constitution, you realize that even during the debate you find some people don't even understand what the provision says, what they're supposed to do, what role they should play when they get there, how they should enforce what is in that constitution. And I feel the debate went so well, the campaign is going on so well, and what we are assuring the public and the members of the bar is that as the Radical New Bar, we are committed to ensuring that we do keep pushing for some of these initiatives that point at promoting the rule of law and good governance in this country. That is why we opened up. That is why I have the Judicial Service Commission. We want to have members who are selected, people representing us, not selected by me. I can sit in my bedroom and I say that person can go and represent. But again, most importantly, is respecting the provisions of the law. Can you imagine we found when the court made that decision, we found when the previous council had filed an appeal against it saying no, we should not vote for the representatives of the ULS, and they were giving some funny reasons, and we said no, why can't we? We need to open up and to give the members an opportunity. And when you see the hype and the excitement and the way people are interested in participating, it shows you what the previous regimes have done, stepping on people's rights, stepping on people's opportunities to have a voice or to participate in this action. But then again, we do also call upon the judiciary. We keep and we shall not stop calling upon them. We know some of them are just individual elements who are aimed at maintaining the status quo, who benefit from the those inefficiencies. We call upon them to really reflect.
Doesn't have kind words for them.
He doesn't.
Yeah.
We share the same view. They need to reflect and know that the Radical New Bar, I think, like he was saying, like Honorable Boya was saying, it has started with the Law Society, with the Radical New Bar of the members of the society, or the lawyers, but tomorrow it will be another and another, maybe the doctors, maybe the teachers, maybe, because if we do not see the changes that we desire, people are going to begin finding solutions. So I do believe we will have a smooth, I don't see any sense in really what is coming up on Monday to try and prevent yet another chance we've created for the members. And it is not for the lawyers, by the way, it is for the citizens, because we need to have a Judicial Service Commission that is active. That is, you've seen the challenges that have been in judiciary: corruption, incompetence, those ones who are bound to be interfered with, influenced, and they actually allow. And that is why when you see the reports we get, there's a lot of backlog, there's a lot of corruption, there's too much rot in the judiciary. We must have what we call a radical surgery of the judiciary, and it begins with the people we send there.
Let's stop for a break. After the break, we'll go to the lawyers, Malcolm and Abdu, then open up a short discussion beginning with Yusuf before we move to our last topic of the day. Welcome back from the break. This is the Capitalgang. Malcolm, the second lawyer, on the upcoming elections.
Yes, Oscar. And we were
they will happen despite the turmoil?
I think they will. I'm looking forward to them. I plan to go and cast my vote as well as a member of the Uganda Law Society. I think that the magnitude of the task is becoming clearer to the members of the Law Society, but also to the public, even to some of the senior lawyers that have been a part of this process of the Law Society for a while, but had not engaged with what it means to send someone, a representative, to the Judicial Service Commission. When actions are taking place there, the members of the Law Society can comfortably say our voice is heard. Not only for them to have their will exerted, because again the numbers might betray in terms of the surgery for the judiciary that is needed, but when you have a voice there, then you are able to hold conversations, to contribute to conversations, and just having that seat at the table is a very big step in the right direction. Let us not mince words, really, because the judiciary is is in very many ways that backstop for democracy. And even the fledgling democracy that we are in Uganda, that makes the judiciary all the more important. And recent happenings have really made that very, very clear. So the idea that you need to be sending people to that conversation that will be able to ask the tough questions, to make the tough demands, to hold the judges more accountable, not to themselves as a commission, but to the people who have sent them there, I think is a step in the right direction. We wait to see. We wait to see what that turns out to be. But I think it's going to be, and knowing that when you're there, you can be recalled by the members of the Law Society. It's not just a conversation with the president at Serena, a cup of tea, and everything is okay. No. So the standard, I think it bring us to a higher standard. Hopefully, Dr. Serunkuma feels vindicated that intellectualism is being celebrated because we have certain professors who are trying to get into those. I'm not campaigning for anyone.
You're not campaigning for anyone.
But I've always thought that some of the challenges we have. That I've always thought that some of the challenges we are finding in these different spaces, in the Law Society, in the Medical Association, in a small Shell petrol station in Chanja, are a reflection of the broader leadership. How we are portraying ourselves, the kind of cultivation of servant leadership or of democratic leadership that we are portraying gets reflected in these smaller units. And so this is a step to I think reclaim that real democratic leadership, where you democratize everything. Transparency. Let us know how people get there, what they do there. Even if their emoluments are healthy, then we see whether those healthy emoluments match the work that they are doing, and see how they support the lawyers.
Abdul.
Yes.
JSC election. I had given you notice that you will speak after Malcolm.
Yeah.
On the upcoming JSC election.
Yeah, first of all, I think we need to give a little bit of history. By law, by the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda and many other laws, the Law Society nominates its members to many, institutions of government by law. So, including KCCA, there are so many other bodies where Law Society is supposed to represent, supposed to be represented or nominate members to help those institutions. The Law Society Act is a very, very small act, and under Section 10, it had given. First of all, it is one of these, I think, relics of colonial law. We need just to go to it and really amend it, because it's really some very outdated law. It's quite archaic.
Decolonization agenda.
Well, I don't want. Sometimes
Decolonization agenda.
Sometimes when people have good points, but they push it. So under Section 10, it is provided that except as otherwise express provided by this act, any regulation or any regulation made under the act, the council may exercise all the powers of the society, and no regulation made blah 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 shall invalidate that. So what Law Society Council was doing was to use these powers to exercise, authority of the membership, including nominating members. So one gentleman, a member of the society, Mr. Stephen Kalari, went to court and contested the membership, not only of the Judicial Service Commission, but all other institutions, statutory bodies. Say, look here, at least these ones are supposed to have our mandate as members. In any case, they should be elected are not nominated, and court agreed with him.
As per the regulations. 16.
Yeah, but the rejection came later.
Before the case.
Yeah, but just before the case. They just came later. But this has been going on for years, since 1995. So that is now the status quo. There was an erroneous interpretation of the law. The court has sorted it out, and we need to move on. So it's really not like it is point, yeah, and they were like, oh, it was wrong. For us, we are the radical people supposed to do it. No, there was a problem. It's interpretation of the law. The courts have helped. And members actually needed their freedom. They needed their rights to exercise their rights. So look here, nobody should go there that is my representative when I've got an opportunity to have a say in how he's elected. So this habit or this practice of having the council nominate is not representative enough. And I say all well-meaning members of the society, I think, are agreeable that we need to, and I use these words deliberately, all well-meaning, are agreeable that we need to elect our members.
I don't need to ask my next question. You have answered it ahead.
Oh, I wish I knew you were going to ask. I would not have answered. So now the Law Society is really not at a crossroad. Do members want to elect their representatives? Of course they do. What is now the biggest challenge now is just a procedure, a process, and that one is in place. It may be an achievement of the radical new bar, or they found something in place which they are pushing, and it's very popular amongst members, especially young lawyers. They really think nobody should be thinking on their behalf. And maybe even us old lawyers, we are saying, well, this is what democracy is all about. However, the Judicial Service Commission has been under the spotlight for one reason, among others. One, it is responsible for the appointment of the judicial officers. And now Law Society is like, we need to have a say, a serious say in how these judicial officers are appointed. Or even to, not only a say, but even to know what exactly goes on. Because if we elect our members, our member Yusuf Serunkuma to be a member of the Judicial Service Commission, and the Judge Otieno has been appointed on their recommendation, Member Serunkuma should be able to explain that this is how we came to this name and so on.
And that judge is also accountable.
Yes, and there should be a little bit of accountability and so on. So why? Because I think members of the Law Society are increasingly getting concerned of how judicial officers are being appointed. So look here, we as the Law Society, and we have members there, how do we contribute to that appointment process? That's the crux of the matter, in my view. And with or without the weaknesses within the judiciary, because those will always be there. Even when they go through and you have those representatives, there will be weaknesses of the judiciary. That one, we should always find a way of, one, how do we handle those weaknesses and so on. Some of the pressures are correct, but not in your vulgar ways. In your vulgar ways, I don't agree with it. I certainly don't agree with it. I think you can achieve more by doing things differently. Sometimes not playing to the gallery. Oh, we've banged the tables and you've listened to that is our man. No. Society is different, man. You can shout and thinking you don't have to shout at somebody. You need to talk to somebody such that he listens. You may shout and he just closes his ears and he'll never listen to you. And then our profession is different from some of these professionals, because our profession is to talk those you disagree with. Listen, talk, and make your argument better. Not shouting at people. Shouting at people sometimes, whether you're in a court of law, just imagine a court of law, you're addressing a judge, or even your colleagues is making a very ridiculous argument, extremely ridiculous. And you think your way of reply is to shout at him, insult him, abuse him, throw obscenities. That is not the legal profession I know of. But then, it could be okay in some other professions. In other professions, it could be okay, but not in ours.
They
No, I'm not appointing to anybody.
Thank you, Abdu. I allowed you extra minutes for that rant to come out, and Serunkuma is coming onto the microphone. I think he may disagree with you.
I will not start there,
And
Oscar.
I would be surprised.
You know we don't have too much time, so squeeze in your everything.
Oscar, I wanted to say, I forgot to say in the earlier segment that as we were celebrating 60 years of independence, the Observer newspaper, our offices were broken into on the day of independence. And the thieves, allegedly, it's not fair to call them thieves, were interested in stealing hard drives from computers.
Even those are thieves.
Yeah,
Whatever mode.
they are thieves.
They were interested in the hard drives, and we find it suspicious. And the place is about 100 meters away from our offices. It took them 6 hours to come when we called them. Just 100 meters away. 6 hours to show up. And so we have been, as we celebrate media freedom, 60 years of democracy and media freedom, and as we head into the election, I think there's all the reason to be worried that if one of Kampala's most critical newspaper is being broken into, I think it's worrying. And I think maybe Emmanuel Dombo here will have a thing or two to say about that. Oscar?
Why? Are you suspect number one? Or you talk for the thieves?
Oscar, at the end of the day, when we do an account of the crimes of Museveni's government onto the people of this country, the lawyers will be there to account for themselves. Because the lawyers have been part of the tyranny that we have suffered as the people. Because the lawyers made their services so unavailable to the common person that we used to talk about, and I think we have to give so much credit to Malema Vidizi for trying to demystify the legal profession. But these people were way distant from the common person, that accessing them was not just expensive, but they also made it look so gentrified that the common person wouldn't access them. So land grabs in this country, partly to explain the intensity of land grabs in this country, is because of the lawyers. They've made their services so inaccessible that the man will say, we'll find ourselves in court, because he knows the person they're slapping doesn't know where to find an advocate. The advocate is either distant from them or also is very expensive. Mm-hmm. So part of the tyranny we suffer as a country, the lawyers are hand in hand with the system. And the credit we give to the Radical New Bank, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm very close to the legal profession, because I know tyranny under Yoweri Museveni has been enshrined in law. Everything tyrannical under this government is within the law. So I'm in love with the Radical New Bank, that they added activism to the profession. That we have suffered under the tyranny of decorum.
Well said.
Decorum is tyrannical. The violence of decorum and good manners and religiosity and morality is explains, it's a mediation.
Malcolm sits at the front
of our tyranny
in church.
And I think this is what Honorable Katuntu is insisting on, that we need to sustain, gentlemanliness and officialdom. And for the last so many years, we've insisted. And what the tyrannies want so much is to make sure that the oppressed follow the law in which they're in charge of. You follow the what they call decorum. It's very, very violent in our lives. And I think what the Radical New Bar...
apartheid was legal.
What the Radical New Bar did, to its credit, is to add banging the tables, using the language that we celebrate. And now that, we're talking about 63 years of independence, there's a guy who died in Nigeria recently, a very famous Ugandan poet called Okello Ochuli. And famously, he recorded the way the people of northern Uganda resisted colonialism. Because they were powerless. They couldn't do so much. They were powerless. What they did was to insult the district commissioner. You imagine, I can't use this line because you warned me one time that this is a family show. They would say things like...
You have already used it.
They would say things like, I'll take my bicycle to Gulu. When I reach Gulu, I will sleep with the queen's mother in the middle of the pitch. And sleeping, I'm using very decent language.
You can't stop there.
And it became
you
a
get the
good
ideas.
phrase. That you see, that was within their power. The only tool they had in their arsenal was language and oratory, was the power of words. And I think Isaac Samakade really revolutionized our legal profession by just language. And we need to give him credit to a degree that you see the excitement around the entire thing. His performative practice in terms of dress. He would show up dressed like the superstar in the Wakanda movies, right? Just to demystify the legal profession. Make it accessible to the wananchi. Give it such of a sexy, if you would use such a language, give it like a local, ordinary appeal that's accessible. And he did that quite satisfactorily. And I think this is why the mainstream judicial officers wanted to rain on
Once you
him.
address that, now the common man, the
Joseph.
think it is the best.
I missed law by 0.2 of a point, and I'm still traumatized by that. But that said, some people actually think I'm a lawyer for whatever reason, but it's a fantastic profession. Look, and it is also true that because I think that the only next to doctors trade where you swear by books as part of trades, you really expect a lot of them. Part of the problem is that the public, and this is very important really, particularly for those people in power, including the manuals, to take, the general perception in this country is that the police is not for them. They are general alone. But it's most scarily, the most important arm of the state, which is the judiciary, is that sort of is under threat, and that really is worrying. There is this perception, for example, that cadre judges are prioritized over other applicants in some of these processes. The criteria for selecting of judges is really not very clear. I have been with people who would like to go through this. Okay, not transparent as someone would whisper to you. Even when the Judicial Service Commission sends a list of recommended judges to the president, it's alleged he picks his on people, some of whom may not even have applied these allegations. So I think that a future UPC government would radically and should radically review these processes, including looking at South Africa and Kenya, where we consider judges being openly interviewed by the public. It's a serious consideration, and it's a manifesto commitment from UPC, and nobody should plagiarize it.
Interesting. Emmanuel Domo.
Oscar, I've listened to the landmen who are in this studio, and I've progressively gotten scared, most especially when I saw the outcome of the elections of the Radical Bar. Because during the campaigns of the Radical Bar, I saw things and heard words that I'd never heard before. And most especially
an old man like you
being practiced in a profession that we had considered very noble. And I wondered whether the person who was promising the changes and the reforms would be able to deliver them under the circumstances. And lo and behold, before time could pass, he was talking across the aisle or across the border, and he could not deliver on the promised reforms. So was this an achievement, or did we get backwards? Right now, I've just been asking my brother Katuntu here and the rest here in house when we were off, and I said, what are the elections intending to deliver? Shall we improve the delivery of justice? Or will it create an opportunity for everybody to be eligible for elections so that they can access the goodies that come with the elections if somebody is elected? If you look at the current, isn't there a better way of resolving some of these matters without necessarily going through what we're going? Elections have been tried in this country, either in the political parties or in other associations of governance, do they necessarily deliver the best outcome that the best people will always get elected? These are questions which I'll leave my brothers, the lawyers, as they go to do the elections. But even when they consider to do that, there is something that is emerging in Uganda, that people in Uganda don't want to talk to one another. To the extent that you get lawyers who are going to court to defend a person, they begin by doing press-ups in the precincts of court. These are new things that never existed before, but this is a nomenclature which is coming up and is poisoning the way we relate. The most important thing is people must learn to talk and discuss on matters that affect us. I admire the lawyers. When there is a judicial issue to be resolved in Kenya, for like the election petition, I am an avid follower of the way they deliberate. It's so admirable.
Yeah.
It's so admirable. You see across the aisle, they talk to one another, they give their submissions with decorum and respect. Decorum is not a problem. The problem is embedded in people's hearts. Poor practice, poor bringing, poor training, and poor manners.
That is true.
It is not the issue. It's not the problem of decorum. It's just bad manners of individuals.
Emmanuel Dombo, just listen, to be fair, if you have good decorum with someone who's about to slap you,
Exactly.
and
I think it
slap
is.
you, and you say even go to court or
You can't
I don't know what decorum
you can't
you're
be the one
talking
that is gagging someone and then telling them to talk and not shout. But you have your hands around their throat and you're stopping them from saying a word. That is that's a representation of how many Ugandans feel with the level of impunity that is around them.
Oscar, if these elections of the judicial service representatives,
when Dombo is coming to Gang, he has an escort car. That's why today was earlier than me. So how can I have decorum in my car as I am late to Gang?
If the elections will deliver,
But Oscar, I also think it is unfair to imagine that because somebody respects decorum, then
They should be slapped.
They should be slapped. They should be
Punched.
thrown bullets at them and so on.
Stolen.
Yeah, and they imagine that decorum equals bad faith.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And let me tell you, in this country or the whole world, there are people who are badly brought up. They are there.
That's correct.
Bad mannered people are there.
And some of us good people
yes,
are paying the price.
You cannot be apologists of bad upbringing.
in
But there are people
conclusion,
who are also products
Oscar.
of their environment.
Oscar,
And then you want to hide that, decorum. Me, I have nothing to do with the decorum because I was brought up badly. Oh, come on.
Oscar,
Yeah.
Oscar,
Finish off.
As I conclude, I just want to appeal to my brothers that you have seen the environment on the gang. Even when once in a while people can send a few babs, but we conduct debate here with respect to one another.
No.
That is
It is not true.
that is
It is not
Oscar
true.
say it, yes.
It is not true.
that is the thing that
It is because you have leadership of a seasoned teacher. Everything comes with
Yes,
leadership.
Mwalimu.
Leadership, yes.
We need leadership.
I like that one.
The good
I
thing,
recall-
the leader will not allow obscenity to be shouted at his wife.
Exactly.
He will not allow obscenity.
Never.
Others may allow
The
it.
microphone.
Others may allow it,
He
but
has the
not.
powers, he has the tools. He has
But
the tools
not the one I know.
Uses them well.
And
So,
finally,
So sometimes he just finds
finally,
it.
as we ended as we continue celebrating the 63 years, I was looking on YouTube, and I saw this presentation by former Minister Chris Rakasisi, how his encounter with the rebels, his encounter in prisons, and how they came to forgive one another, and the act of forgiveness by the president, and his story. Let me hope he has gotten an opportunity to write it so that many people who don't live during his time
Thank you.
will get forgiven. But
Joseph,
that's
one
the best way we
sentence.
could go.
have been allowed 3 more minutes. One sentence, Joseph.
No, just to say that whatever happens, really, we need to give these guys an opportunity. I think the public ought to be much more engaged. At 63, we need to be able to reflect really on the reality of what independence was all about. It was very, very much about the emancipation of our people in a very holistic way.
Yusuf, one sentence.
Oscar. They are vulgarized ULS methodology. There is method to the
They
madness.
vulgarize your vulgar way.
Kind of
Is that
show
what you're
end.
saying?
Oscar, I'll finish on this. You see, Franz Fanon tells us that when the colonized understood that the only language the colonizer spoke was the language of violence, they responded in that language. These are people conducting abductions, keeping people incommunicado. They have a court martial which is illegal but still running. And these people are insisting on decorum.
Okay,
they are
thank you.
vulgar in the first principle.
Thank
and
you.
we have had to
Final
learn
words.
to respond.
Vice
in the language
President
they
Anthony
understand.
Asimwe, final
That's
word.
what makes us
All
a
right,
difference.
thank
from
you.
them.
Allow me to commend Sarah Nkuma for for recognizing what the Radical New Bar has done. That actually, Emmanuel here was asking whether we've achieved. That is an achievement because we wanted to demystify what people think about the lawyers. And he's not a lawyer, but he knows and he has understood, and that's what we wanted to
Abdul
put
has already
aside.
accused him of being an academic.
Now, this decorum thing we are talking about is a colonial relic. It was used as a tool of oppression. That is why even when you go to court, if a judge abuses you, you should say, "Most obliged, my lord." And we are saying, no. If a judge is doing the right thing, I should speak to them. And maybe also to make Honorable comfortable. No, no, you don't. No, you speak. No. And to make Honorable comfortable, this bang the table is really an analogy of the approach. And some of these reforms, the things we are talking about here, those are the reforms we intended to bring. And the president, to also answer what he's saying, what Dombo is saying, this is a result, is more sort of a matter for these reforms because we're insisting on them. And that is why he's actually not even in the country, because we are seeing the judiciary being exposed. What we thought they would do is actually what they did. And that is an embarrassment to the institution. That shouldn't happen in any democratic society. You cannot gag the voices of the people. I'm glad you also acknowledged that the elections were like never before. I think you saw the turnout and the 80%. All these people are not. But as I conclude,
in half a minute,
all the things the reforms we're talking about, like the elections for the Judicial Service Commission, is really for the benefit of the public. We want to have a judiciary that that delivers justice, that does what is supposed to be done, because they must account. It is a reflection of what a democratic society should look like. And as we celebrate really the 63 years of independence, that's why I want to be in our R&B vision.
Thank you, Vice President of the Uganda Law Society, Mr. Anthony Asimwe of the Radical New Bar, the bangers of tables, for coming on gang. We should be pleased we contained you. Thank you, Malcolm Hamizo. Thank you, Abdul Katun. Those are the lawyers. Thank you, Joseph Otieno of the UPC, ever optimistic. Thank you, Dr. Yusuf Serunkuma. Abdul has sent you to the Radical Bar as well. Thank you, Honorable Emmanuel Lumala Dombo, for your contribution. You've really made a strong rebuttals here. The Lone Ranger of NRM on the show. Star Cafe, thank you for powering gang. Emmanuel Dombo has performed. Next one, we have Rough Cuts by DJ Nyowe, and he is actually already here. We thank Capital Radio for giving us an extra 6 minutes for the Capitalgang.
Standing in for him.
So I am Oscar Semwe Amsoke, and I shall see you next week.